before the rush begins, before notifications pull you into a world of noise, before the worries you carried yesterday slip quietly into your morning. Stay here, just for a breath. There is a truth the Buddha saw, a truth that reveals why anxiety rises, even when nothing is wrong. A truth that explains why the heart tightens, why the mind spins, why the body wakes up tired, even after hours of sleep. Most people believe anxiety comes from the outside, from the expectations of others, from responsibilities, from uncertainty, from the future. But the Buddha said, anxiety begins long before the world touches you. It begins in the mind, in the stories the mind builds, in the fears the mind repeats, in the illusions the mind protects. Right now, as you listen, your mind might already be imagining everything that could go wrong today. A conversation, a deadline, a decision, a person, a moment that hasn't even happened yet. But listen, this is where your freedom begins. Because if the mind creates the storm, the mind can also calm it. So stay with me, just for these first moments. Because anxiety has a pattern, and once you see that pattern, you can step out of it. Buddha taught that before anxiety appears in your body, before it reaches your chest, before it tightens your breath, it first appears as a subtle thought, a tiny whisper, a flicker of what if, that grows and grows until it becomes a whole world of fear. But it does not have to become your world. Right now, feel your breath, not the breath of anxiety, but the breath beneath it. The steady one, the quiet one, the one that never left. And hear this truth, because it may stay with you for the rest of your life. Anxiety is not you. It is only a visitor, a traveler, passing through the rooms of your mind. The problem is, you keep offering it a seat. You keep giving it a story. You keep giving it power. Without realizing, you can simply say, not today. Buddha said, the mind that is not trained runs like a wild monkey, jumping from branch to branch, from fear to fear, from worry to worry, never resting, never seeing clearly, never breathing fully. So today, we learn a different way, a calmer way, a wiser way. You are not here to fight your anxiety. You are here to understand it. And when you understand it, it loosens, it softens, it stops controlling your day. This is where our journey begins, not by escaping anxiety, but by turning toward it, with awareness, with steadiness, with clarity. Stay with me, gently, because these next teachings may change how you meet your own mind for the rest of your life. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is not a sign of weakness. It is not proof that something is wrong with you. In the Buddha's teachings, anxiety is a messenger, a reminder that the mind has wandered away from the present moment, a sign that the mind is clinging too tightly to something it cannot control. When anxiety rises, your heartbeat quickens, your breath becomes shallow, your thoughts race in every direction. You feel as if you are losing control. But the Buddha said, no emotion has power on its own. It is the mind that feeds it. It is the mind that multiplies it. It is the mind that turns a single worry into a storm. The Buddha used a simple image. He said the untrained mind is like a candle, left outside in the wind. The flame flickers wildly, sometimes almost disappearing, sometimes burning too strong, sometimes leaning left, sometimes leaning right. Never stable, never calm, never steady. Anxiety is the wind, the mind is the flame, and the Buddha taught that peace does not come from stopping the wind. It comes from strengthening the flame, from teaching the mind how to stand firm, how to remain steady, even when the winds of life blow. Anxiety grows when the mind resists reality, when the mind says, "I don't want this. I cannot accept this. This should not be happening." That inner resistance, that inner tightening, creates suffering, much more than the situation itself. Imagine holding a cup of tea. The tea is hot, but the heat is not unbearable. What makes it painful is how tightly you grip the cup. The same is true of anxiety. The moment the mind grips a thought tightly, the moment it refuses to let go, the moment it clings out of fear, anxiety multiplies. This is why the Buddha said, "We suffer not because life is hard, but because we cling." We fear change. We fear uncertainty. We fear losing control. We fear the unknown. But life is always changing. Nothing stays the same. No moment repeats. No breath is exactly like the next. When we fight this truth, the mind becomes tense, the body becomes restless, and anxiety takes root. The Buddha explained anxiety in an even deeper way. He said anxiety is imagination without awareness. It is the mind creating stories that have not yet happened. It is the mind predicting danger, even when you are safe. It is the mind whispering, "What if this fails? What if they judge me? What if I am not enough? What if something goes wrong?" And the body reacts, as if the danger is real. But anxiety is not reality. It is a projection, a shadow, a possibility, not a fact. The Buddha taught that the mind has two tendencies: to grasp and to run, to cling tightly to what it wants, and to run from everything it fears. Anxiety happens when the mind runs, when it tries to escape discomfort, when it tries to avoid uncertainty, when it imagines danger behind every thought. Yet the Buddha said, the only place where fear dissolves is here, in the present moment, in awareness, not in running, not in avoiding, not in suppressing, but in seeing clearly. So he gave a simple instruction. When anxiety arises, do not fight it. Do not push it away. Do not judge it. Instead, observe it, as if you are watching a cloud passing through the sky. A cloud does not stay. It moves. It shifts. It dissolves. Thoughts are the same. Anxiety is the same. It comes. It peaks. It fades. It dissolves. The Buddha said, whatever you hold on to tightly becomes suffering. Whatever you allow to pass becomes peace. This is why awareness is the key, because awareness loosens the grip. Awareness breaks the cycle. Awareness shifts your relationship with the emotion. When the mind becomes aware, you stop being inside the anxiety, and you begin observing it. Like watching waves from the shore, you see the rise, the fall, the rhythm. And in that seeing, the panic softens, the breath deepens, the body relaxes. This is the beginning of freedom, not when the emotion disappears, but when you stop identifying with it, when you stop saying, I am anxious, and instead say, anxiety is arising, and it will pass. Because the Buddha taught, you are not your fear. You are not your thoughts. You are not your anxiety. You are the awareness that watches them, and awareness is always calm. always spacious, always untouched. This is the truth of anxiety. Not a curse, not a flaw, but a messenger, a reminder that your mind has wandered, and your breath, your awareness, your presence can guide you back home. Anxiety does not appear from nowhere. It has roots. It has conditions. And the Buddha taught that when you truly see the conditions, you loosen the power they have over you. Most people believe anxiety is the problem. But in Buddhism, the real problem is our misunderstanding of it. We think anxiety means something is wrong. We think anxiety means we are failing. We think anxiety means we must fix something. Right now. Immediately. But anxiety is not an enemy. It is a messenger, a signal, a wave of energy, rising in the mind and falling in the mind. And like all waves, it does not last. When you do not understand this, you fight the wave. You push it away. You fear it. And the fear creates another wave, and then another, until the mind becomes a storm. But when you understand the nature of the wave, you no longer drown. You simply watch. You breathe. You let it move. The Buddha explained that every feeling has three qualities. It arises. It stays for a moment. It passes. Nothing stays. Everything moves. This includes anxiety. When anxiety appears, the untrained mind believes, "This is me. I am anxious. Something is wrong with me." But the trained mind says, "This is a feeling. This is a movement. This is not who I am." A wave cannot be the ocean. A moment cannot be the whole life. A feeling cannot be the self. When you bring this understanding into your daily life, a small shift happens. Instead of fighting anxiety, you create space around it. Instead of tightening, you soften. Instead of reacting, you observe. And when observation replaces reaction, wisdom appears. Sometimes anxiety rises because the mind is living in tomorrow, thinking of what has not happened. Sometimes it rises because the mind is trapped in yesterday, regretting what cannot be changed. Sometimes it rises because the mind is trying to control what is not meant to be controlled. The Buddha taught that anxiety comes from three habits of mind: clinging, resisting, and fearing impermanence. Clinging says, "I must make everything certain. I must make everything safe." Resisting says, "I don't want this. I refuse this moment." Fearing impermanence says, "I cannot handle change. I cannot lose anything." But life is uncertain. Life is changing. Life is movement. Life is flux. And when you try to freeze a moving river, you suffer. Anxiety is that suffering. The tension created by wanting life to be different from what it is. When you see this clearly, you begin to release the grip. You stop fighting. You stop grasping. And slowly, the anxious weight begins to fall away. Imagine holding a rope. Imagine pulling it tighter and tighter. Your hands burn. Your muscles shake. Your breath becomes shallow. This is anxiety, the state of pulling against reality. But imagine releasing the rope. Even slightly, the tension softens. Your breath deepens. The burning stops. The mind becomes clearer. You didn't change the rope. You changed how tightly you held it. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. When you change your relationship to anxiety, the anxiety itself changes. Sometimes anxiety is simply the body calling for rest. Sometimes it is the heart asking for gentleness. Sometimes it is the mind asking for space. Sometimes it is the soul asking to return to the present. When you stop labeling anxiety as bad and instead listen to it, you discover what it has been trying to tell you all along. Slow down. Breathe. Come back. Release. Trust. In silence, you will hear the message. And in that moment, the anxiety loses its teeth, its sharpness, its power. It becomes lighter, softer, dissolving into awareness, like mist fading under the morning sun. This understanding does not eliminate anxiety forever. It transforms how you meet it, with less fear, with more wisdom, with more compassion for yourself. Because the Buddha never taught that an awakened person feels nothing. He taught that an awakened person is not controlled by their feelings. This is the freedom you are moving toward, step by step, breath by breath. When anxiety rises, the mind becomes a storm that spins stories, a storm that turns small worries into great mountains. But the Buddha taught that anxiety does not appear from nowhere. It grows from seeds we keep watering inside. And one of the deepest seeds of anxiety is attachment to control. The mind wants certainty. It wants life to go exactly as imagined. It wants people to behave as expected. It wants outcomes to match our desires. But life refuses to follow our plans. People change. Circumstances shift. The future bends in unexpected ways. And the more tightly we hold, the more desperately we try to control, the more anxiety rises in our chest. The Buddha explained this through a simple truth. Clinging creates fear. Fear creates suffering. Suffering creates more clinging. And the cycle continues. To break this cycle, we must learn the art of softening, not surrendering, not giving up, but softening the grip that keeps the mind tense. Imagine holding a rope tightly. Your hands begin to ache. Your fingers tremble. Your muscles tighten. That is what anxiety does to the mind. It turns every thought into a clenched fist. But when you loosen your grip, even a little, the pain lessens. The strain softens. The breath becomes easier. In the same way, when you soften your hold on expectations, the mind opens, the heart relaxes, and peace begins to seep in quietly, like early morning light entering a dark room. To calm the mind, begin with the breath. Not a forced breath, not a dramatic breath, just a gentle witnessing of the breath as it moves. When you inhale, feel the cool air entering. Feel your chest rising. Feel the space expanding inside you. When you exhale, imagine releasing one thread of control, one layer of pressure, 1 ounce of fear. Do this again, and again, and again, until the breath becomes a doorway back into yourself. Anxiety often tells you, I must fix everything right now. But the Buddha taught, not everything needs to be solved in this moment. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every fear needs a reaction. Sometimes, the wisest response is simply to pause. When your mind races, pause. When your heart tightens, pause. When your thoughts create stories, pause. Between the stimulus and the reaction, there is a quiet, sacred space. And in that space, your freedom lives. You are not your fear. You are not your anxious thoughts. You are not the stories your mind creates. You are the awareness watching all of it. Anxiety wants you to forget this. It wants you to get lost in the story, lost in the prediction, lost in the what if, lost in the imagined danger. But awareness gently whispers, return. Return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to this moment. Because this moment is safe. This moment is real. This moment is yours. Let anxiety be a visitor, not a ruler. Let it come. Let it go. Let it pass through without building a home inside you. Just as clouds pass through the sky, let thoughts pass through the mind. The sky is not harmed by the clouds, and you are not harmed by your thoughts, unless you hold them too tightly. So soften, loosen, breathe, and remember, you can meet anxiety with stillness. You can meet fear with awareness. You can meet the storm with the calm at your center. This is the path the Buddha taught, a path not of escape, but of understanding, a path not of pushing anxiety away, but of seeing clearly, knowing deeply, and resting in the truth beneath the turbulence. Anxiety cannot survive in a mind that is fully present, because presence dissolves illusion, and anxiety is an illusion woven by a restless mind. Gently, patiently, return here. Return now. Return to what is real. Anxiety does not begin in the world. It begins in the mind. And before you can calm the mind, you must first understand what the mind is doing, why it creates fear, why it imagines danger, and why it tightens around things that are not even happening. The Buddha often reminded his disciples that the mind, when untrained, behaves like a fire left unattended. It spreads, it jumps, it consumes everything in its path, not because the world is dangerous, but because the mind keeps feeding it fuel. Anxiety is not a single emotion. It is a pattern, a habit, a looping of thoughts, a story your mind keeps telling you until you begin to believe it is real. When anxiety arises, the body tightens, the breath shortens, the heart beats faster, not because anything harmful is happening, but because the mind is projecting danger into a moment that is actually safe. The Buddha explained this through a simple truth. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. Most people think anxiety comes from the future, but it actually comes from the mind's inability to stay in the present. Notice this the next time you feel anxious. Your body is here, but your mind is running away. It runs into tomorrow. It runs into what if. It runs into imaginary outcomes that have not happened and might never happen. The Buddha said that this kind of mind is like a traveler who leaves the safety of home only to lose themselves in a forest of illusions. Every fear growing larger because no one is there to guide it back. So how do we bring the mind home? How do we return to stillness when the mind is shaking? We start by seeing anxiety clearly, not as an enemy, but as a message, a signal, a teacher. Anxiety is the mind telling you, I am overwhelmed. I am scattered. I am lost in thoughts that are not real. This is why the Buddha taught that the first step in overcoming anxiety is not to fight the mind, but to observe it, to watch it gently, like a parent watching a child, having a storm of emotions. You do not yell at the child. You do not punish the child. You simply stay present, and the child eventually calms. Your anxiety works the same way when you become aware of it, without judgment, without panic, without trying to make it disappear instantly. It begins to dissolve, slowly, softly, like mist under the morning sun. The Buddha also explained that anxiety grows when we add to a single feeling. A small discomfort becomes a problem. The problem becomes a threat. The threat becomes a disaster. And soon the mind convinces itself that something terrible is happening. But nothing terrible is happening. The mind is simply constructing a chain made of imagination. And every link in that chain makes your fear feel heavier. This is why the Buddha encouraged the practice of returning again and again to the raw sensation beneath the anxiety. Not the story, not the images, not the thoughts, but the feeling itself. A tightness in the chest, a flutter in the stomach, a heaviness in the heart. When you meet anxiety at this level, it loses its power, because feelings are temporary, but stories can last forever. So the practice is simple, but life-changing. When anxiety arises, pause. Inhale slowly. Exhale deeply. And bring your attention, not to the fear, but to the present. Ask yourself, what is happening right now? Not in my thoughts, not in my predictions, but right here, in this breath. Right here, you are safe. Right here, you are breathing. Right here, nothing is attacking you. It is only the mind trying to protect you by imagining dangers that do not exist. And when you understand this, your relationship with anxiety changes. It becomes softer, less frightening, less commanding. You begin to see anxiety as the Buddha saw it, not as a curse, but as a misunderstanding of the mind, a confusion that clears as awareness grows. Because the moment you see anxiety clearly, you are no longer trapped in it. Awareness breaks the illusion. Awareness brings space. Awareness brings freedom. And freedom is the beginning of peace. Buddha taught that the mind does not suffer alone. The body carries a memory of every fear, every moment of tension, every hidden worry, and every unspoken anxiety. When the mind trembles, the body stiffens. When the mind fears, the breath becomes shallow. When the mind imagines danger, the heart speeds up as if running from something unseen. This is why anxiety feels real, not only in your thoughts, but in your chest, your stomach, your shoulders, your breath. Buddhism teaches that to calm the mind, you must also calm the body, because the body and mind are not two separate worlds, but two reflections of the same inner weather. So in this part, we return to the body, to release the tension that anxiety has left behind, and to rediscover the stillness hidden beneath all the noise. Close your eyes for a moment and simply notice where your body is speaking to you. Perhaps there is a tightness in your jaw, a heaviness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or a pressure behind your eyes. Do not judge it. Do not fight it. Simply acknowledge that your body has been trying to protect you, carrying weight that your mind could not carry alone. In Buddhist teachings, the body is often compared to a bowl of water. When fear enters the bowl, the water shakes. And as long as the water is shaking, you cannot see through it. But when the shaking slows, when the water becomes still, clarity returns, and the truth becomes visible again. So let us still the water. Take a slow, deep breath. And as you inhale, feel your body expanding gently. As you exhale, imagine the tension melting down from your shoulders, sliding down your arms, leaving your fingertips like drops of water. Again, inhale deeply. This time, breathe into your stomach, where anxiety often hides. Feel it soften. Feel it loosen. Feel it release. Now inhale into your heart. Let the breath travel into the part of you that holds fear the most. The part that tightens when uncertainty arrives. The part that trembles when life feels overwhelming. Let the breath bring warmth, softness, and space. With each breath, you are telling your body, you are safe. You are here. You are not running anymore, Buddha said. When the body is calm, the mind becomes clear. And when the mind is clear, wisdom arises naturally. Anxiety grows in a tense body, like a flame fed by oxygen. But when your body softens, when your breath deepens, when your heartbeat slows, anxiety loses its strength. Now a soft golden light, beginning at the top of your head, warm, gentle, peaceful. As this light moves downward, it relaxes your forehead, your eyes, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Let the light melt every tightness, every frozen fear, every silent pressure. Allow it to travel down your arms, down your palms, through your chest, your stomach, your legs, all the way to the soles of your feet. This golden light is not magic. It is your awareness, your presence, your returning to yourself. It is the part of you that anxiety cannot touch. And now, with your breath calm, your body soft, your awareness expanded, feel the difference. Notice how anxiety weakens when you stop fighting it. Notice how peace grows when you give your body permission to relax. Notice how much lighter you feel simply by returning to your breath. You do not need to escape your body, to escape anxiety. You need to inhabit it fully, to feel its sensations, to understand its messages, to release its burdens. In Buddhist practice, healing the mind begins with listening. Listening to the breath, listening to the heartbeat, listening to the body. Because the body never lies. The body always tells the truth. So each morning, before the day begins, and each night, before sleep arrives, place your hand on your chest and whisper gently, I am here. I am safe. I am allowed to relax. And remember, the body is not the enemy. The body is the doorway. The body is the ground on which peace grows. The body is the home where the mind learns to rest. When you release the tension in the body, you release the suffering in the mind. And in that release, you find clarity. You find space. You find the quiet strength that anxiety tried to cover. This is the beginning of freeing yourself from fear, not by force, but by awareness, not by resistance, but by returning. Again and again to the place within you that anxiety cannot reach. Before we close, before your attention returns to the world, Before your thoughts begin to scatter again, I want you to sit with one final truth, a truth the Buddha repeated again and again. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your mirror, your invitation to awaken. When the mind trembles, when the chest tightens, when the breath becomes shallow, these are not signs of weakness. They are signs that the heart is calling you back home. Anxiety whispers. Something inside you needs your attention. Something inside you is asking to be healed. Something inside you is asking to be seen. The Buddha said, "What you run from controls you. What you look at with awareness loses its power." So today, instead of fighting your anxiety, instead of fearing it, instead of believing it, you will learn to sit with it, not as an enemy, but as a messenger. When anxiety rises, pause, breathe. Notice, this is a sensation, not a destiny. This is a wave, not the ocean. And like every wave, it rises and falls. It comes and goes. Nothing stays forever. Not joy, not sadness, not fear, and not anxiety. Everything changes. Everything moves. Everything passes. This is the law of impermanence, the truth that frees the mind. When you understand this deeply, anxiety no longer feels like a threat. It becomes an experience, a movement of energy, something that visits you, not something that defines you. The Buddha taught, the mind creates fear, but the heart dissolves it, not through resistance, not through force, but through presence, awareness, and compassion. So when anxiety comes, place your hand on your heart. Feel its warmth. Feel its rhythm, and whisper gently to yourself, "I am safe. I am here. I can breathe through this." Let the breath become your anchor. Let the breath become your home. Let the breath become your medicine. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly. Again and again and again. With each breath, you return to the present. With each breath, you loosen the grip of fear. With each breath, you remind your mind that you are not in danger. You are simply feeling. You are simply alive. You are simply human. And there is nothing wrong with that. The path to freedom from anxiety is not about eliminating sensations, but changing your relationship to them, meeting them with softness instead of tension, with curiosity instead of panic, with kindness instead of judgment. When you practice this, anxiety slowly begins to lose its sharpness, its intensity, its power. It softens, it melts, it opens, and in its place, you begin to feel spaciousness, clarity, light, peace. You realize that beneath every anxious thought, beneath every fear, beneath every storm, there is a stillness within you that cannot be touched. That stillness is your true nature, your true refuge, your true home. No matter how noisy the mind becomes, no matter how fast the thoughts run, beneath everything, there is a quiet place inside you that has never been afraid. That place is your awareness, your wisdom, your Buddha nature. You do not need to create it. You do not need to earn it. You simply need to return to it. Again, and again, and again. So as we close this teaching, carry these truths with you. You are not your anxiety. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fears. You are the awareness that watches them, the space that holds them, the light that softens them. And that light is always within you, even when you cannot see it, even when you forget it, even when your mind hides it. The Buddha said, just as the sun remains, even behind clouds, your inner peace remains, even behind fear. So today, walk gently, breathe slowly, and remember, every moment is a chance to return, to calm, to clarity, to peace. May you treat yourself with kindness. May you move through the world softly. May your mind become lighter. May your heart become freer. May your path become clearer. And may peace find you again and again, in every breath, in every step. In every moment, you choose awareness. This is the way out of anxiety. This is the path to freedom. This is the wisdom the Buddha left for you. May this teaching calm your mind and open your heart. May it guide you today and every day. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be free.